ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dead Game Podcast.
Yes.
My name is Wally Phelps.
And I am Carlos Longoria.
And we are the one show where you can actually bring someone from the dead. Just like Vincent Price in that Michael Jackson video. All right. So today we're going to be talking about Strider. It's a game that I'm not too familiar with, but this is a game that Carlos wanted to speak about today. And people were talking about it. I would bring it up and people were like, Strider? Ooh, I would like to hear what he has to say about that. So,
I heard you and Jason over on NCR talking about that.
Right.
And because I know you were a guest host, and I was listening to that actually this morning, and heard you. Jason was like, "Hey, what are y'all talking about?" And he said, "Oh, Strider." And he was like, "Oh yeah," and so he was saying about how he had the NES one. Now, the NES one, I did play. So I'm not gonna get into it at right this second, but I did also have the NES one. It is a it is a lot different than the rest of the game series.
It's a Nintendo hard game.
Yeah, it is. We'll get into that just a bit, I guess. How's your week been? Been busy?
It's Tuesday, so it's been okay so far. I'm on every podcast that's ever been created this week. I'm on Nerd Cave. I am on Open Micers. I am on. I'm going to be on the Derek Diamond Experience. I'm going to, and I'm doing the commentary tracks for the Patreon.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For the NCR Patreon, where we're going to be talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so that I am booked.
That's what I was saying. You are a busy man, Wally.
Right. I had a game. Oh my God, I forgot that I had a game. I'm playing an RPG. Like D&D for Star Wars called Edge of the Empire, which it's not a D20 system, so it's not like the way we play D&D, but there's still dice rolls to see what the outcome of your scenarios are, and they have the weirdest process. Like, there are green dice that are for good things, there are black die for bad things that counteract the green dice. There are yellow dice that are for experts. So if you're an expert in something, you get a yellow dice. There's a black, not black. There is a setback dice, where a setback might be happening. Plus there is, there's a lot. It's very complex, and I'm glad I don't have to. No, go ahead. I'm glad I don't have to deal with it because the GM is the guy who's doing it. But
okay, all right. That's a lot to keep up with. I guess I don't know. It is. So, if I were to be you and I play a character in your D&D campaign.
Yes.
I've never played D&D before and didn't know a thing how to play, how to set up, do any of that stuff. The only thing I knew of is that there were dice involved and the story was, a lot of times made up as you go along, or whatever the dungeon master makes the story and you just play the character. Okay. Yeah. That's all I knew about it. If not for the fact that D&D Beyond lets you just like roll the dice and the modifiers are all already calculated in their stuff and everything, I would not know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
You
now
will eventually, but
right
yeah.
now I probably like I understand it now, but you know what I mean. Like I wouldn't have what I didn't know any of that stuff.
Well, and it's like that with this game, and the reason why I brought it up is because I was supposed to play it tomorrow, and I forgot, so I am doing the podcast instead.
Oh no.
Um, but yeah, with the D&D, it's here's something interesting. They actually released test materials for the new D&D edition that's coming out next year, and they are testing out these new abilities for fighters to make them a little more customizable.
Yeah.
So, if you use your weapon, there's only one way to use your weapon.
Right.
So, they're actually coming up with this whole process where you can train on different aspects of your weapons. So, for example, you can have an ability where if you miss, you still do some damage, or if
Huh.
or and these are just options. They're not automatic or anything like that. So you can
Okay.
pick and choose what you're doing with each turn.
Right.
But it's like one of them, if you hit somebody, you can knock them prone, or you can knock them backwards, or you could. There's a whole lot of different things that they are actually testing with this edition, where it will make fighters have more as many options as spellcasters, which
Okay.
is what their whole idea was, is to make it to where you have more say in the way your damage is done. Like,
Good.
whenever you're playing, you always roll poorly. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. The-
if you
I
had
am known
extra
to roll
abilities
poorly.
rather than hit or miss, I think that would be a lot of fun for you. So I'm hoping that I would like to look it over and see exactly what they're talking about.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 You do that, Wally. I'll just sit over here and click on the screen and roll dice. I don't. Yeah.
You say you're going to do something ridiculous and hit roll dice,
Yeah. Uh.
and inevitably you're going to get a
And
low roll because you
yeah.
always do
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason.
Now, like 90. I get like a 10% of the time good roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
It
a
is. It
great
is
amount
not a
of
good.
time.
And I and I know Vince. How come you don't roll real dice? Because I still get bad rolls. I
Yeah,
tried
I
rolling
mean,
real
you
dice.
have
I
rolled the
still
real
get
dice
high. Have
before.
rolled real dice. Still roll bad. So it is.
It's like,
It is
you roll
definitely.
and it's like 6. It's like 6.
I know. It's like, don't. I don't get it.
uh, I'm never going to
Oh.
Vegas with you. I'm going to tell you that much right now.
Well, I haven't won the lottery, so I'll tell you. If that tells you anything right there about how my luck works. So yeah,
Well, most of us haven't.
oh, well,
But
so I'm pretty average.
you're doing pretty good.
I'm doing pretty good there, man. I didn't look at.
How's your week been?
You know what? Fair. The, pretty pretty busy.
Yeah.
I've been working on a few things. Work has been quite hectic. Most of last week I didn't sleep for squat.
Mm,
And it was one thing after the next. And I think because I had I had too much on my mind for things that were going on and whatnot, work and other
right.
projects that I was working on and whatnot and everything. And I kind of took a break from working on the game because I was just trying to de-stress. I know on the previous episode, recorded, and we had mentioned that I was, going through some funk. I don't think we ever mentioned what happened, and I don't mind telling. Um, so I was dealing with shingles. So lucky me, I was in pain for the longest time. And truth
Right.
be told,
Lucky you.
yeah. I rolled a 1, and yeah. So but I'm still in some pain. It's mostly when something is touching me, like shirt, because it is along my ribs down under here
Uh-huh.
and around the back, mostly up to the right side, but it like wraps around all the way to my spine, so it's like all the way around. And
Not ideal, yeah.
all of that, yeah, like the blistering was over in a few days. Like it took like a week, and that was not fun. Um, and so I was dealing with that for a while, and it that alone was kept waking me up because it's quite painful. And
Yeah, I imagine.
yeah, so I would like I would move, like in my sleep, and it would touch on the bed or something, my back
Ow.
or my front, and there was no way to like avoid it, so because it was on all the way around. So yeah, anytime I moved, it would cause pain, and I would, and wake up because pain. Um, so that's kind of been a thing. It has significantly dropped in the amount of pain, but
Mm.
it is also still there. Like it is. I am conscious that it is still there. Like, but it's only whenever something.
Right.
And the weirdest thing is, it's the thing that hurts more is soft things. So it's like the just the little tiny abrasive. Like something. It doesn't even have to be really abrasive. It's just my shirt. But if
Yeah.
I put my hand against it, it just feels like, it's kind of bruised. Like it's just the weirdest thing.
Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. But last week, as I had so much going on, I was just so tired, and I kept waking up. Ugh.
Yeah,
So it's just
this
been
month
a
has been wild.
crazy. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
crazy couple of months. And you and I we haven't even played any video games together in a couple of weeks.
I haven't played a
And
lot of games, period. Like I played Fortnite like sporadically over the
yeah,
last few weeks. I mean, I
yeah,
don't play it as near as much as I used to.
right.
Like I have like a little guide telling me my stats, and this year I've played less than 100 games.
Wow.
Well, this season anyway,
Yeah.
and it is not like me to do that. So
Yeah,
it
that's significantly low for you.
right. I mean, and the thing is, I'm not winning a whole lot. So it's
Yeah.
like the longer I go between wins, the less likely it is for me to want to play. So it's
Right,
like,
cuz it just
especially
it
how I've been losing.
right. Yeah, cuz I saw you post on Twitter about that. And
Right.
yeah, the stats, you
I'm
know,
literally twice
it's
as
very
bad as I was
disheartening.
last year.
Yeah, it's very disheartening. Like it will deflate you, like not you like necessarily, like it will, like
Right.
not being able to win and losing. Okay, so we used to uh well, do get top 10 easily most of the time.
Right.
uh Occasionally we would, fumble something, or run into some tryhards early in the game, and it was not a good experience. But that didn't happen all the time or anything. It was,
Right.
there was still some fun and whatever. And but yeah, the last few games that I played with you, man, we just got
We
white.
got
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm trying to
like,
pull up the stats right now just to give a little bit of context here, because okay, my win percentage over the last 7 days 0%.
yeah,
Over the last 30 days 3.9%. The previous season, that is 12.5%
yeah,
wins,
which is very,
and with 7.3% wins for solos. And so it's, and the season before that, I had a 12.7% wins. So it is declining dramatically
yeah,
and steadily. It's wild. And
yeah.
people are like,
I
"Well,
think I
you're just
remember.
in. You're better. You're just really good. So you're being put into these lobbies." And it's like, I'm not as good as these people, though.
Yeah, yeah. As I remember, reading somewhere that the percentage. So a lot of people are like, oh, like if nobody plays, battle royale games, you think, oh, 10%, 12%, that's garbage. That's because out of 100%, you know what I mean?
Yeah, one
But
out of every 10 games.
if you if I remember correctly, if you like Google like what the percentages are and everything, anything anything above like 7 or 8% is considered a pretty good tier. Like,
Yeah,
and then the KD ratio portion of it, I think was I think anything above a 3 is also considered like pretty good tier. Like if you're in the fours, on that portion, then you're
you're a
pretty good. Three
little
and a
over
half is
averaged.
yeah, three and a half
Yeah,
is above average. It's
yeah.
generally a 3. 3.5 is above average, and I know you and I were like 4 something,
Let
and
me
at
look at
one
my
point we were in
KD.
the fives. So
Uh,
our KD ratio was actually pretty good at one point, considering where we're at. The fact that we were
like
builders for the longest time.
this season, my KD is sitting at 2.53.
Ah, wow, yeah.
Which isn't terrible. Well,
No, no, that's not the worst.
3.81 in solo, so that's actually not bad.
Oh, so that's actually pretty good. Yeah, you're
Last
getting lots of
season,
kills.
yeah, I'm getting lots of kills when I ain't winning worth nothing. Last season, I had a 3.79, and the season before that, I had a 3.47. So I averaged just above 3 every season,
So you're still averaging well on the kill count, but
which is still
just
garbage to me, but
sure, I get it. Yeah,
but
I don't know.
uh well, I guess we better
Anyway,
segue into our main topic.
sure,
We've been yammering on for
right,
over 15 minutes now.
yeah.
But today's game is, I don't know if we do. Do we have any kind of transition or anything that we do?
Yeah, and so if we are gonna be talking about writer. Um, so basically, I know you said you're not really too familiar with the games.
No.
Uh,
Sell them to me.
Yes. So the original game came out in 1989 at the arcades. I honestly can't tell you that I played that one. I don't recall playing it first. I do remember playing it later. My my first excuse me, my first experience with Strider was on the NES. Um, it was a pretty good game for NES type game. Like it wasn't bad, but it is very lacking in certain things that are if you've played the arcade, it is a very different game. The idea is the same. The character is supposed to be the same. It kind of looks like him. You know what I mean? Um,
Well,
and
it's the
and
NES.
that it's the NES, so of course it's going to be limited. But overall, like I said, I would say give it a try. It's not boring, or anything. It's not a bad game. It's just not as good as like the arcade, which of course is hard to do when you go from arcade to like NES. You know what I mean?
Well, what is the game?
That's
What
kind of
what is the
so
concept?
Strider. So Strider is a game. It is hard to explain. Think futuristic ninjas kind of thing. Everything is it's set in a world where technology is like embedded into everything. Um, buildings, people, plant life, and things and everything. Some of the games where you go and you go to the game and you're playing the game, you can see uh like trees and things in the background, and they're missing bark, and there's like technology underneath. So it's like every technology is ingrained into everything. Um, Essentially, you play as the character named Kiryu. Strider is the name of, it's like a code name of these particular ninja type assassins,
Mhm.
essentially. And so it's like saying ninja in that way, but it is like a specific
But in a
group of
way
people.
that they could just not change the title of the game when it goes to Great Britain because they can't say ninja.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So Strider are essentially highly skilled assassins. Um, Hiryu is the main character. You'll go up against they just give you like general bad guys that like that, like that you're just fighting along in the throughout the game. They're just regular guys. Some of them have modifications and whatnot and everything. If you play the arcade one, they bosses are pretty giant size and everything comparatively. And they're a lot of fun to fight. They are tough. It is a tough game. It is not an easy game. Um, it is fun to play. There are some what I would say would be like cheap deaths, but it is mostly fair. And if you die, it's because you didn't understand what needed to be done at that moment. Um,
You are awful.
yeah, yeah, sure. The the character is kind of floaty, and so if you don't like that kind of thing, you're not gonna like it because even in the current games are definitely an improvement. You move around much quicker, but if you play any of the older ones, you kind of do like this slow cartwheel in the air where your feet just go over your head, and it's like it's kind of like, wait, what? Yeah, so you
Like,
somersault in the air and do like a cartwheel type thing, and it is slow and sluggish, but it is interesting to look at. There's a lot of stuff going on. The main villain, I believe, if I remember correctly, is called the Grandmaster, and yeah. So I know. It's like, wait a minute, what?
no.
But what you call it? It's interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you about my experience in what I. So I told you that I played the NES version. That was my
Right.
first experience with it. Years later, I played the NES game, and now this Strider itself, the original one, came out, for um, excuse me, for Genesis and the PC Engine and all that. The Atari ST Amiga and all that. So, came out all those things, and none of those were any good except for like the Genesis one, and it was fine. But later on, they did do a release on the PlayStation, so you could play the original arcade game on the PlayStation, which I did own, and it was a 2-disc combo, and it came with Strider 2. So you bought Strider 2, and it came with the original arcade game
Oh, wow.
in there. So it was kind of cool because at the time, that wasn't a normal thing to include like a previous game, on a new game or with a new game bundled in. Um, there were there were two different Strider 2s. So there was Strider 2, which was II, and that one is the one that I played. Now, Strider 2 II was what it was called internationally. In the US, it was called Journey from Darkness, Strider Returns. So I remember it as Strider Returns.
Interesting.
Now, largely, this is considered like the worst ones, but this was my experience with it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a fun game. It was very arcade-like. You could change different things, like this version of the game was so in the arcade when you slash your sword, they did that thing where he doesn't really you don't really see a sword, you just see like a wave kind of thing pop out in front of him, you know.
Yeah.
It's a hard, you know what I'm yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I'm
talking about.
watching it right now
Yeah.
on the screen because
Yeah.
uh, essentially it's supposed to be emulating motion blur.
Right, exactly. So, you get that. But they also had a different version where you could set it to sweep. So it was more of a the sword would kind of go out in front of you like this, and it was a flat blade almost. It was a little wide, think Buster Sword, but
Uh-huh.
sideways. He didn't like slash it down. Would arc it in front of him, but
Right.
straight, not like where it would cover. So it would cover very significantly less of the. There was less of a sweep, and it made the game a little harder and more challenging.
I can
And
imagine.
it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting that they changed a few things. So there was a few other settings that you could fiddle with and everything on that, and change your experience. Now Strider 2, the number 2, not II, was a different game, and that came out, I believe, on the PlayStation, uh, the PS1. And yeah, that's the one that came with the arcade one. So which eventually got released onto the PSP and the PlayStation Network and all that and everything. Um, you actually could download it until uh, 2021 when they finally closed the digital store for the
Marketplace, yeah.
yeah. So the game was there, but can't get it anymore. In 2014 they released a new game called Strider. That's all they called it. It was in
What?
Strider 3. It wasn't 4X or nothing. It was just Strider. Now, this one was definitely a vastly improved game. It was very much similar to the way Strider 2 for the PlayStation was. They used a much, you know, what we so if you think Strider, you see Strider in the blue and red costume with the long scarf kind of thing that's around his neck and you know covering his face and whatever thing. That's when the character had changed on Strider 2 for the PlayStation. Now this same model is, or it's a newer model, but you know, like it's the same overall look is what they used for the newer game, which was just Strider in 2014. The gameplay was kind of a 2.5D style thing. It was still 2D left and right, but there were certain points where the camera would shift ever so slightly, and they were doing that because that was kind of the popular thing at the time. You
Yeah.
know, is
That was
putting
the
these
style at the
games. Yeah,
time.
that was yeah, it was the style. Everything was 2.5D, and so if you like went to like a wall, you know, because he has abilities like where you can climb walls and so forth. Like he has like a sickle that kind of embeds into the wall, and you like it's kind of like having a what do you call it? Like the or mountain climbers use it for the pick.
I know what you're talking about, like
Yeah,
Fizzle
so
type situation.
yeah, so it's kind of like that. And yeah, so you're able to climb walls and whatnot and everything. The jumping is significantly improved, so he's not as floaty. He still is a little floaty, but everything was much more fast paced and felt better. You know what I mean? Um, Villains were similar to the previous games. You know, you fight some machinery and some bad guys and whatnot and everything that are trying to stop you from you know completing your tasks and whatnot and everything. And there are portions of this game where I don't want to call it a bullet hell, but sometimes there's more enemies and they're firing at you, the ones that have weapons, and
Right.
it becomes more of a challenge of like trying to avoid getting hit, you know, as opposed to just like physical attacks and whatnot and everything. Um,
Right.
the enemies typically have some kind of pattern. So you can kind of keep an eye out for that and everything, and you can time things accordingly and be like, well, I know once I get this close, this machine is gonna start firing. This guy, likes to throw this or whatever. So you could kind of you figure it out. You know, so it's a matter of just figuring out the patterns that are there. It was a lot of
Right.
fun. I honestly never got to finish that one. I do own it. Um, for the PlayStation. I just never got around to finishing. So and that was another thing. I canceled my PlayStation Plus because I have not played anything on PlayStation in quite some time, in months. Is
Wow.
my PlayStation is just sitting there gathering dust, and and that because everything that I play nowadays is on either on PC or Xbox, and honestly, my Xbox hasn't got much love either. Um,
Yeah, I
so
haven't ever since I got this computer. I haven't really played
yeah,
the
well,
Xbox all that much.
it's the convenience of not having to go back and forth between consoles. I think, um, because most games are, if you have it for Xbox, you can get it on PC, and if you
Yeah,
have Game Pass, you can probably
play it
get it on
anywhere.
Game Pass. Yeah, you can play it on
Yeah.
either machine. So anyway, what do I want to see as far as newness? Bring back Strider. So, I know like updated graphics is usually a thing and whatnot. Honestly, I don't think the graphics for the last game were bad. I don't mind I wouldn't mind if they went back to the pixel art style, for the previous game, honestly. Because I
Right.
kind of like that kind of thing. I have a big love for all things retro when it comes to gaming and whatnot. Uh So, I wouldn't mind that. But, just keep the previous iteration, maybe improve it, of course. It's gonna be upscaled, of course, and it definitely higher definition for the models and whatnot in the game, I'm sure. But I say keep the overall look on that part. I would like to see possibly multiple paths in the game. The uh, the last game or the previous one, Strider 2, it was very straightforward. Just go here and you kind of go down and you follow mostly a path. The last one had a little bit of more into where you could kind of just go in different directions and whatnot and everything. So there were alternative routes that you could kind of traverse through uh the landscape, I guess you can call it, the
Right.
level itself, and figure out your own way to get. You're still going towards the same point. You could go this way and go through these baddies over here, or you can go the other way and whatnot. Um, there were a few things where you could upgrade, different abilities and things, and I wouldn't mind seeing new abilities. Can't say I could think of anything that I would like him to do though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, it's a
everything seems fine the way it is.
yeah, it's a good game the way it is. I just feel that way about it.
I would
Like it's
like
good.
more
I
of the
would just want
same.
more content. Yeah, just make more of the same. That's what I want.
Just
They're
build on
also
what you've done already.
right. Um, there's not really like too many other things. The uh, what you call it? The one thing that I wouldn't mind seeing though is um if they did it in the style of a roguelike kind of game,
Oh,
sort of like the way that oh, what's the one that did the we were just talking about it, where they released the Castlevania uh DLC, and it's randomly generated
I
levels and whatnot.
don't know.
Can't think of the name right now for some
Dead
reason. Dead
Cells?
Cells, that's the one. Yeah, Dead
Okay.
Cells. So I wouldn't mind seeing it sort of like that. Truth be told, I wouldn't mind if they just did the Castlevania thing and and threw it in Dead Cells and just give it a Strider skin, I wouldn't say no to that either. So I think that would be kind of interesting, is to have randomly generated levels, and whatnot. I think that would be quite an interesting take on that itself.
Right.
Um, I don't really know a whole lot else. I mean, the story is pretty cut and dry. There's not really like a whole lot to expand the story. If they didn't make it a roguelike game, I wouldn't mind seeing it transition into the 3D world. And I know that's a lot of times whenever you're used to a game, you don't want to change the format.
Right.
Because this Strider isn't one of their like biggest, like one of the biggest hits, for excuse me, for that for the franchise. Like, it, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a big fan base. You know what I mean? Like Mega Man X was a hit. You know,
Right.
the people that loved the old Mega Man, there was a split. Like, I didn't like this. This is totally different. I don't like it.
This is hot garbage.
Yeah, and then there's the people that are just hardcore into, like, I love Mega Man X. I love Mega Man X. I love Mega Man
Yeah.
X more than I like Mega Man. Because I like the pacing of the game. I love it. It's perfect for me. So I wouldn't mind, and like I said, I know that there's not like it wasn't like a huge seller, but I think that there's a big fan base enough to justify a new game.
Right.
The going back to what I was saying, though, I wouldn't mind seeing it in a 3D kind of thing. Um, in the sense of, I think they could do it properly now. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because a lot of games were trying to transition to 3D. Like, they did the 3D Castlevania games, for PlayStation 3 and whatnot,
Right.
and they just, they
They didn't
it didn't
have that
really work.
magic.
It did not work. I mean, it was interesting. The story was interesting, but the gameplay was not what you would think as Castlevania. And
I think it's on Friday, the new Star Wars Jedi game comes out. I forgot the
is it?
name of it. But I can see this being kind of a template for that. You know what I'm saying? Like for Strider, like a kind of a Souls-like game.
Yeah,
Because you got the sword, and you could.
I could see them doing something similar to that, but being that Strider is a fast paced game,
Right.
I don't know that it would work as a Souls type game where you're
You're
you know what I
kind
mean?
of
Like,
being precise and things of that
yeah,
nature.
yeah, it's very much a hack and slash kind of thing, action game. So I would say that it would probably work better as a God of War type thing.
I'm gonna have to play God of War, because
In
God
that
knows
way.
that I haven't played it yet.
Which one? The first one?
Any of them.
No, I mean like the one for PS4, PS5. The
That's what I'm
God
talking
of
about. I have it
the
on the
one
hard
that
drive right now. I just haven't played it.
plus what is it? Oh, okay, wait. You talking about you talking about the one that got released in just the past couple of years, right? Not God of War, the new one, Ragnarok or whatever.
No, not Ragnarok. The one
You're
before
talking about
that.
the previous God of War.
Yeah, the one
with his
that.
son.
Yes, boy. Yeah, that one.
You have not played this game, Wallace?
Like I said, I have it. I own it. It's on my PlayStation right now. I just haven't never.
Listeners, are you hearing this? Unacceptable. No, Wally,
This
this is
podcast is
outrageous.
over.
Look, we are finished until you play God of War.
That's so funny.
There will be no further episodes until Wally play. Yeah, you need to get to that one.
It's a shocking discovery today.
It is a very good. It is a very.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play it, and you know what? Hell, like I might actually play it this weekend. Why not? What do I got going on this weekend?
So I'm gonna tell you something, and if you do or whether you do or don't know, you can change the difficulty on the fly. In the pause menu,
I didn't
there
know you were
are some
playing
parts.
as a fly.
Oh, okay. I said you could change it on the fly, so you have to step on a fly in order to change the setting.
You gotta stand on the fly.
Yeah.
I would like this to be less difficult, please.
Yeah. So there was one. So I played it in normal mode. There was one section I've had to play that section like 50 times, and I could not get past it. And it was just one little. So once I got past it, it was not even a long section. It was like I was going down a course. There's a portion where you're fighting some flying enemies, and you're in a narrow pathway, and I just could not. I'm used to. At that point, I was used to being able to, because you can, strafe and dodge roll left and right and whatever and everything, and now and but in that narrow pathway that you're limited to where you can roll.
Right.
You're confined, and it was just I had, it messed up my pacing, and I would get really close, and I would get really close, and I would get really close, because you just have to make it to the end,
Right.
And it was just so I was like, screw it, let me do this.
Let me change the difficulty.
So I did easy
stand on?
and got past that part and everything. And as soon as I got out of that hallway, I went back to normal and finished the rest of the game in normal. But that one part,
Lord,
I just could not do it.
I'm going to do it on the most difficult setting.
Do it. Do it. I triple dog dare you. Oh man, yeah. But it is a fantastic game. I highly recommend.
So
I say it.
So if we made Strider, similar to God of War, that is what you're now proposing.
Yeah, I would like to see it in that light.
If you did it in 3D.
If they did it in 3D, I would say it would work better if it was like the current God of War series in that way. To where you're moving around and everything. Now, you're not really like in God of War. You're not really like running like super fast as the way the Strider Hero does in the game. Like he is near the like it looks like he is falling down, and his legs are just going. Behind him, it looks like
ridiculous anime running.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. It is ridiculous anime running. Like his face is near the ground, like a foot off the ground, and he's like running really fast. So he's ducked down and he's just pushing himself off the ground. Forward motion. So he moves a lot, at a very quick pace. So if they did this in 3D, they would have to figure out a way to make it more like a Sonic type pace. Like to where he's moving relatively quickly. But other than that, if they don't, just keep it 2D or 2.5D. I'm fine with that. I would love to see another one, just in the traditional 2D mode. I'm fine with that.
Just make more of the same at that point.
Yeah, just make more of the same. They're a lot of fun. I'm gonna tell you, they're a lot of fun. I believe you can get. I believe you can get the. Let me see. Is it is that available on? Yeah. Actually, Strider, the 2014 one, is currently on sale for $4.49.
Nice.
On Steam. So if you want to play this game, I say give it a try. It's less than $5 right now.
That's fantastic. Goodness.
And it ends as a special promotion. Offer ends May 7th. I may actually buy this one, and add it to my library. I'll see whenever I finally get to it, because I have not been playing. as we have discussed, but it will be it shall be mine, Wally. I will own this. Yeah,
Of
I need to get this
course.
game. Yeah, like I said, I have I have the game on the PlayStation, but I really haven't. Like
Right.
$5 isn't a big deal to own it on the PC, where I spend 99% of my time anyway.
Right.
So I would definitely say, hey, give Strider a try. And I think you'd actually like it because it's really hard game to explain. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you like action, platform kind of thing, and it's made by Capcom. I don't. Did I mention it was made by Capcom?
You did
I
not.
did.
No, you didn't say anything
Because the
about it being
character. Yeah,
Capcom.
sorry. I apologize. Man, I just start going into one thing into the next and forget. But the character itself hasn't been in another game. He's been in the Marvel Capcom game and whatnot as a playable character in those games. So they haven't forgot about him. You know, it's
Right.
just a matter of they just haven't made a new one. The last one was in 2014, and it's been 9 years at this point. So
He's
time for a new
about
one, Willie.
due.
Yeah, it's time for a new one, Willie.
I will agree with you there. Well, I suppose that's gonna wrap things up. I suppose.
I think so.
There anything you want to add about anything else?
Um, Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I know you and I were working on some projects. How's your project coming along, by the way?
It's not. Yeah, I've been watching videos about it and trying to figure out what I need to do. The thing is, what I want to do, I don't think is possible. Well, it is
Uh,
possible because I've seen people do it.
right.
Because what it is I'm trying to use UEFN, the Fortnite creative suite that is in Unreal, and there's no native support for platformers. So if
Okay.
I want to make a platformer, I have to figure out how to do it. And there's at least two people who have done it because there's one that is pyramid based that is on the platform, and there's another one where you go into an arcade and they have recreated basically Flappy Bird. And I don't know how they would have done that. So somebody figured this out. I'm not the one.
Right.
But I've been trying to think of alternatives as far as what I want to do now that I know that what I wanted to do isn't really even possible.
Right.
Unless somebody would love to shoot me in the direction of instructions on how to do it.
Yeah, listeners, if you know anything about the UAFN engine for Unreal, for Fortnite, give Wally a shout and walk him through it. Let him know what he's got to do in order to get that stuff done.
What's your project
Um,
status?
Mine is I've taken a break over the last 2 weeks. Honestly, I have not done anything on it in 2 weeks. I have not abandoned it by any means. It's just a matter of, I was dealing with that whole, situation with shingles and whatnot, and I just did not want to do anything. The first week, I had to take a week off of work. And in my head, I was like, I can get so much done in a week while I'm home, because you go through a contagious period. And really, it's not like I would, if I breathed on somebody, they were going to get it. There literally has to be physical contact. It's gross, but
I
it's
mean,
there.
the fact that you work at a hugging factory is part
Well,
of why you had to take so much time off.
well, but yeah, yeah, it was so for a while I was like, yeah, I'll take this week off, and since I'm going to be home, I may as well work on the project. Well, little did I know that the pain was going to ramp up over the next, couple of days. And man, I tell you what, it was to the point to where I was just physically shaking, just sitting there. And I couldn't do anything. Um, it was very exhausting because, like I said, it was because of where it was wrapped around my ribs, around my back, and whatnot. And I couldn't lay down because it was just hurt. So I would try to like sit on the sofa and ease back, and I could tolerate it for a little while, and I'd have to. So I was sitting at my desk for, most of the day, leaned forward, and then my back was hurting because I was just leaned forward the whole time because I was trying to prop myself up. Because as dumb as it sounds, I said, well, all you have to do is sit up. Yeah. Have you ever tried sitting up without leaning back, without leaning against anything forward? Have you ever tried doing that for the entire day until you go to sleep?
Nope.
And it's tough. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything for a couple of days, and let alone as dumb as it sounds, I couldn't move around the mouse because my hands were shaking so much.
No, I mean,
So
all of this makes sense. I mean,
I just couldn't do anything. So I would sit here and I would click on a YouTube video, and I was watching YouTube or whatever, catching up on some shows and whatnot, and that's all I would do. Keep myself, from thinking about the pain. But that's all I could do.
Well, I'm glad you're starting to feel better, and
yeah.
So
I'm gonna get back to it, but it's just a matter of
right. Well,
I
mean,
one thing that I did find out about, one thing I did find out about the engine that I'm using right now, is that so I was trying to figure out how to tell the enemies to do physical attacks. Like when you get close, they would slash at you or something like that, or try to hit you some kind of way. I found out that that's not a thing that the engine knows how to do. The enemies are kind of run into you, like Mario type thing. So now I'm at that point. At this point now, I'm kind of rethinking like the structure of the game. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not what I was thinking. Or I'm not going to be able to do the things that I thought I was going to be able to do.
Right. And that's where I am, because I have to, because of the limitations of what we're using, we have to rethink our entire idea.
Right, because I'm not a programmer. Well, I don't know how to tell it what I want to do.
I mean, that's basically me too. It's
I don't
know what's happening.
I'm just rethinking, like,
took me an hour to figure out how to
I'm thinking different enemies and whatnot and everything. There's still a few enemies that I'll be able to use, just not necessarily in the way that I originally intended. I just have to figure out a way to make it like, that looks fine. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't want it to be garbage.
Right. I mean, we're trying to make something good.
It's probably not going to be great.
No,
I want it to be fun.
But,
you know what I mean?
This is going to be our first project.
I know.
It's not going to be Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Speak for yourself. Well, this mine is going to be, it's going to outsell the.
It's going to outsell Myst.
Yes.
But we should do a shout out to our patrons. We forgot to do that
and
last time.
let's not forget to mention the patrons this time.
Mike Eveland, Mr. Beef Rest Coffee himself. We have Billy Bones and Danny House, and I thank all of them for the small entry level that we ask of you to help support the show. It's only $3 a month. In the background, pretend Sarah McLachlan is singing, and you just go to patreon.com/therealbigwall. You also receive exclusive access to the Legend of the Dumpster Fire, the most recent episode of which is that I have edited is one of my favorites. So you can just
how many episodes
there.
are on there right now?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. Okay.
It depends. I think it's 4 if you count.
You're doing like a dramatic reading type thing, huh? Like an adventure kind of thing?
No, I'm just putting it on there. I'm like,
are you? Oh, okay, all right.
I
thought you were gonna do a. I thought you were doing a dramatic. Is it obvious that I'm not a patron, Wally?
Yeah. Well, the way I was doing it is I was doing an intro, and then an outro, but then it got to the point where these are like 4 hours of
Yeah.
material that I have
Yeah,
to
it's
go
like three and a
through.
half, 4 hours. Yeah.
And so instead of doing that, I've decided, you know what, I'm just going to listen to it. And as long as there's nothing crazy that I have to remove, I'm just going to put it up as is.
Yeah, sure.
I have edited out silences.
Right,
So,
right, sure.
we're situations where we're looking up rules or making
Right, right,
dice rolls or something of that nature. They are being cut down, so you barely notice that they happen.
right.
But I'm not getting rid of them like I was because it happens too often. But
Right.
they,
Yeah, it would take like for a 4 hour episode, you have to literally let it play, scrub through the thing, and find the
mm,
thing, and then edit that out. And that would
now
take
the
you
good
like
thing is
8 hours to just get
right.
through it.
The first few episodes were rough whenever I first listened back to them because of the fact that we were. I noticed that I said certain phrases over and over again. I still do that, but this was egregious,
Oh,
and a lot of us said a lot, like
right.
a whole lot. So so I would cut out, like, if I had more than one in a section of 5 seconds, I would edit out as all of them but one.
I
I
see.
have stopped doing that. So
Yeah.
because we don't do it as often as we were in the beginning,
Right.
but we still do it quite frequently. But yeah, go there. Go to deadgamepod.com, where you will find our link tree, which has all of our merch, all of our socials, all the places that you can support us.
Correct.
Please consider sharing, subscribing, reviewing on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, please do.
And just tell everyone you know about the Dead Game Podcast, because if not, we will also be dead.
Oh no.
Well, anything else you want to add?
Not that I can think of. I think you covered it all.
Well, live long and smoke meats, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
See y'all next time, everybody.